this is a topic dear to my heart. I'm working with this a lot with family members um, who have very different views from me, and continually trying to work with that situation of love and sharing and squaring off at the same time. It's very painful. So looking for how to stay steady myself in this world and how to keep my heart open to other people. So polarization is everywhere we look and feel, and it seems like it's getting worse instead of better at the moment. And for myself, I wonder, how can I help myself? Just, I notice I can barely read the news because I'm having so many reactions. It's very painful. How can I be a help and be open-hearted with friends and family and in the world? And how can I help, as we used to say in times gone by, be more part of the solution than part of the problem? How can I help to decrease suffering and help things get better instead of worse? How can I do my part? These things about how I can help myself, how I can be a help, how can I help to affect change are really where we live in the Karuna training program, which is a training in contemplative psychology. It's a 2-year program with seminars online and retreats in person. We have a few graduates here today. It started back in Europe in the 90s, and it's approaching its 30th anniversary, and we've had several cohorts in Europe, different countries in Europe, and based in different states in the US. And it has evolved and adapted over time. It, on the one hand, holds deep wisdom of meditation practice and tried and true, going back to the Buddha. And at the same time, we're adapting based on psychology and the times we're in and the feedback that we get from our students. So it's a very alive program. It's old and new at the same time. And people who do the program, when they leave, they say, wow, I really was able to develop a meditation practice. I really appreciate the study, which is in all Buddhism. We do a lot around social justice also, and the arts, all kinds of things, the elements, and the experiences that I have. But more importantly, I'd say that people say, wow, what would my life be without Karuna if I hadn't developed these compassion-based skills of continually coming back to an open heart and an open mind? So grateful for that. And there's a strong sense of community. You're in a cohort as you go through the program, and people make lifelong friendships. And then the community continues after you so-called graduate. There's community there for you. So, and it's a program for people, any walk of life, young or old, your background. And we really try to make it accessible. If somebody wants to do it, we do everything we can to make it so that they can do it. So today's theme, Uncovering Polarization, Cultivating Compassionate Exchange. How might we acknowledge and work with polarization, like taking it as real and work with it as a practice in an ongoing way, address it. So it's a tendency of groups, what is polarization, to go into opposition, to take opposing stances, to have a division of beliefs and views. And you can think this, people get solid around class, rich versus poor. I think about here, I'm living in a semi-urban area, and I think right now it's property owners versus unhoused. Education, educated versus working class, the whole thing about the elites versus the not elites today, left, progressives versus conservatives. We kind of align, we take a stance. Why? Why do we do this? Because, obviously we all are unique. None of us have exactly the same opinion. Diversity in nature, diversity in humanity, diversity in opinions. If you've ever been part of any group or team of any kind, what would it have been like if everybody had exactly the same point of view? Nothing, dead in the water. The richness comes from that kind of exchange of different perspectives and people's experiences. But what happens why do we get kind of aligned in this sort of oppositional way? We like to gather in community in a kind of clan. We're looking for belonging, and we often take a value to create that sense of belonging, a kinship through belonging, through a shared view. That's one. We want to have a worldview that we can align with, like a trajectory. I'm setting my ship a sail with this point of view because we're navigating complex and overwhelming seas. Can I just have a course where it's true north? Can I just align with this view? We want to simplify our worldview. Wouldn't it be nice if we had a simpler world? There is so much change afoot, and we are feeling a lot of fear of the unknown. So looking for ways to have an answer or something that so we don't have to feel our fear as much. And we don't have to, the sort of groundless quality of being in the unknown. And I don't know about you, maybe you feel aligned at a pole or not. Maybe you're somewhere in the middle, but regardless, I think you could agree that something's happening. We're all having a tendency to kind of harden up. I'm tending to sort of harden up around something. And that's the problem right there. That's the problem right there, is that we tend to harden up our minds, our hearts, and our bodies even. We go into this stance of us versus them. It's saying that this era could be described that we're in the era of grievance, feeling wronged, and things are wrong, right or wrong, or I've been wronged. This is really wrong. I'm wronged. And of course, the forces that be, whether you call it materialism, capitalism, consumerism, all those isms have hooked into our fears and we're getting, hooked and manipulated into these things. I mean, even on a simple level, pro-aging, anti-aging. It finds a way to hook us in to a particular stance and manipulates us. So it seems to me like our capacity for being in what we call in Buddhism, and by the way, I forgot to say this is so important. Karuna training is for everyone. It's not a religious program. It's for people of all faiths and non-faiths. It's about being a human being. So everyone is welcome. It's not a Buddhist training program per se. We draw on Buddhist psychology a great deal, but that's just one aspect. So not knowing mind, how to tolerate being in not knowing, how to tolerate being with uncertainty, and how to be with ambiguity and complexity. It seems like our capacity for all of that gets weakened when we get into this oppositional sort of hardened shell kind of stance. I mean, it's really just quite insane. I mean, right now, is such a volatile, precarious feeling time in the U.S. With the elections coming up, being here between the conventions, an assassination attempt, all that on top of climate change, systemic injustice. I mean, it's just, I feel like I could walk over a time bomb, or I could, reading the news in the morning, I'm scared to open the news and see what's there. So how can we shift this? What can we do? I'm going to share some, like I said, I'm sort of front loading the talk aspect, the information aspect. So I'm drawing on some information from actually the Greater Good Center, which is right up the street from me here in Berkeley, and a study that was done by the More in Common project. How can we help with polarization in a social way? What are some things that we can do as far as engagement? Number one is have what's called intergroup contact. Intergroup contact, finding situations where you are with people who have a different point of view from you. This is very active for me. Like I said, I live in the US blues area, but I frequently go back and spend time with my family, and it's a very red area. And I learn so much from having conversations that way. Um, and there are several organizations that are arranging sort of assemblies or forums that you can join where people are having discussions, sort of, community discussions, small groups bringing different points of view. Like, let's talk about abortion. Let's talk about gun control. Let's talk about immigration. Let's talk about it and speak from your heart what's important to you. And something happens where you can soften and feel someone else's humanness and where they're coming in from their point of view. An opening happens. So intergroup contact is number one. Number two is taking a perspective. Taking a perspective. So any opportunity that you have to shift out of your point of view and experiment or try and could you argue from another point of view? I remember being on the debate team in my high school and what it felt like to try to embody a really different stance from my own is really helpful to kind of learn how the facts align and how someone feels so that they've come up with a different point of view from yours. So any opportunity that you have to take a different perspective when you're kind of in tunnel vision. A third way is what's called having superordinate goals, bigger goals as opposed to smaller goals. So for example, pride, national pride run amok lent to things like Hitler's Germany. But if you have a larger pride, the pride of being a human being, the superordinate pride that we are all connected. We are global citizens. We're not just national citizens. We're citizens of the planet and the world. So finding where you have a larger sharing that unites you versus the sort of partitional difference. You follow? Fourth, and this is a very specific thing, but particularly oriented for the U.S., is proportional voting. The two-party system has really exacerbated polarization because we gather in our clans of divisiveness, and I'm going to vote Democratic versus voting Republican. Stop seeing the issues, anymore. And in countries where there is proportional voting, in other words, people are elected, Congress people are elected based on how many votes they got. Things happen, but you know what I mean? So there will be a much broader and diverse representation and less reinforcement of this party versus that party. And then the fifth key thing that research has said is to vote on policies, not parties. Vote on policies, not parties, because there is such an effort to be persuasive that often I am deliberately a registered independent because that allows me to see more sides, more perspectives on things. I'm not just filtered by my party, so to speak. So those are 5 particular social ways that research has shown that can help to loosen polarization's grip. I find reading human history, like I turn to the Heather Cox Richardson, who puts American politics in the light of American history. She's a historian. Gosh, I can't tell you how many times that has just put things in context just for American history. But you don't want to fiddle while Rome burns and do nothing. But at the same time, knowing that there are cycles and things do shift. And some people think that this horrible time is because we're on the edge of breaking into something new in a really good way. Okay. Then I'm going to shift to the more personal, and where sort of Karuna training comes in and really helps with all of this sort of a personal ground. So Karuna training draws on what we discover through meditation practice, through simply um, being present with our own minds. You think it's all happening out there. It's all out there. Everything bad is happening out there, and I'm a good person, and I'm just sitting here. Well, and when you sit down to meditate, you discover there's a heck of a lot going on in your mind. And guess what? Polarization is happening continually in our mind toward ourself, toward our family, everything that's happening, like, dislike, love myself, hate myself, good, bad, get out of here, hate my husband, do this, not every single thing. We're in, it's a constant flicker of um, that, like a film flickering. And we actually study, in studying Buddhist psychology, the development of mind and the development of ego, and learn about the skandhas to start to see when we meet that sort of sense of open space, immediately we sort of split and go through a whole process that's happening on a millisecond level of and it's happening down in our reptilian brain. It's almost on the level of instinct. How are we going to feel safe? Scanning. This is safe. This isn't. So that's happening. Polarization, division from our experience, dividing our experience is happening for real, for all of us, all the time, on a micro level. So starting to see that, and then of course we act out from that. That just escalates into action, right? And worldviews. So when you start to accept the see, it's like an investigation. What's really happening in your mind, and give it some space and extend some kindness. It's quite profound. I mean, I think of all the people on earth who think they're only their thoughts. There's no alternative. So in Karuna, we do deep training and meditation practice. You're not trying to push anything away or get anywhere, but just actually see what's happening in our minds and settle down into our nervous systems and into our bodies. So just say, it's happening. And you can start to work with your mind and see what's happening, and not follow every impulse of division. You can go, oh, that's just thinking. Come on back now, Sandra. Come on back to the present. You're projecting, you're going a whole different directions. Just come on back now. That's not really happened. That was past, that's future. So that's the ground of Karuna training, is that cultivating more and more that kind of awareness, that's going on, and sort of acceptance and a kindness of how to kind of soften our own minds. Another key practice, and something that Pema Chodron has said often, is just like me. That person, that enemy, the person on the other side of the Grand Canyon of the Divide, that wicked, evil, whatever, is just like me. They're just as desperate and in as much pain and struggling, just like I am. They are too a tender-hearted being, just like me. Even the most monstrous, they were a baby that wanted to be loved. They want to feel safe in their world, just like me. They may be going about it in a different way, but the more that you can open to that sort of just like me aspect is so important. In Karuna, we have a couple. So compassionate exchange, we have a couple of forms. One is called speaking from the heart, and one is called compassionate exchange. And in this, we cultivate and train. There's a lot of time with this, and it's life-changing, dare I say, isn't it? Those who, I think, I'm not just being, this isn't just a sales pitch, but I've observed it over and over again. What's being cultivated is that you could dare to actually tell the truth of how you're feeling from your own sort of tenderness, and what's going on for you for real. Just speak the truth. And then, really important, as a listener, this is the exchange aspect, that you can cultivate just being with someone and listening to them without giving advice, fixing, interpretation, judgment. You can cultivate just meeting someone just like me, heart to heart, on a peer level. It is so great. It is so healing for people that, from the point of view of the speaker, you don't have to, here's my terrible story about me. Let me tell you this, da da da, play the violins. I'm such a terrible person, all this da da da. You can just speak in what's actually with you right now without a lot of razzmatazz, and that the person who's there with you can just be with you just as you are, and they are not going to do anything to try to change you. You're not looking up to them for advice or anything. The wisdom is in you. And in fact, what happens with the listening is, the main thing is, the listener is, you're cultivating someone being able to hear their own wisdom, to be able to feel their own strength. You're like a mirror in a sense. And so that is so, so, so helpful. And also in Karuna, so how do you even go about this? It's not all just chatty Cathy, talk, 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 talk. Cultivating awareness and attunement to what's happening in your body. So there's a lot of a focus on embodiment and attuning to how you're feeling. Many of us don't even know how we're feeling right now. So taking the time, maybe you're feeling numb, maybe you're spacing out, maybe you're irritated, who knows what, but to attuning to what's actually happening right now. So these practices are like such a great medicine for working with polarization, learning how to be with yourself just as you are, and how to be with someone else just as they are, and to listen with an open heart. Shall we have a little short movement and meditation interlude, and then we can come back to chatting a bit more? Okay, and that's my chair scraping. I'm going to stand up. You don't have to, but I'm going to stand up, and I'm just going to see what happens, and what I want to do myself, and maybe you might want to follow on. Feel free to, excuse my chair sound, follow along um, or not do anything. Uh, this will just be a chance to sort of come back into your body. We've been talking a lot about some kind of intense stuff we're all holding. So let me see here. So I feel a need to I'm just going to rub my head, like give myself a little scalp massage, some kind of soothing, patting myself on the head. Some give your head, your scalp, and your hair a little rub and a little love and attention. We're not on Zoom, we're in space. So just give yourself a little, ah, maybe your neck. You can um, stretch your neck a little. Right, Rhoda? However that feels comfortable. Ah, about your shoulders. Just giving my arm. I'm rubbing my right arm with my left, in front and the back, feeling my fingers. And then your shoulder, your other arm, the top, the back, rubbing down, feeling your fingers. Remembering to breathe. Now, just give your chest a rub. And your torso, a nice rub. And your back, your kidneys area, maybe some circular motions. Your sides, rubbing down. your belly. Ah, just breathing. Maybe just pausing for a moment. See how you feel now. Just not moving in space. I notice my shoulders still want to go down a little, shaking my arms, letting them go, letting my head go. A little ragdollish. And then down, let's keep rubbing. I'm going to do my left leg, just rubbing down, like a soothing rub down to my leg and feeling my ankles, my ankle, my feet. Some nice rub, soothing rub. And then the other side, rubbing down my leg, my front and the back. And feeling, rubbing my foot. There's my good old foot. And then how about just a little free form shake, little shaky like a dog shakes. When it's, shakes off water, you just do a bit of shake. Sounds are fine. If you want to make sounds. Shaking my hands. And then a little slight little jog. Little jog. I'm going to jog around in a little circle, baby circle, looking around the room a little. We're not just in the Zoom square. Look around the room. Look around. I'm going to look out the window a little here. Very bright sun. A little shake. And so we're going to transition to just doing a bit of meditation. So finding your spot for meditation. Feeling the sort of keeping the kind of 360-degree awareness. You don't have to look right at the screen if you don't want to at all. Letting yourself come in for a landing. And I usually start with my eyes closed to just kind of feel myself in from the inside, my bones, see what needs to sort of settle a bit. And begin to attune to the body breathing. Just having your hands resting on your thighs. And when those flickers of thought come up, no matter what they are, just notice it's happening continually. Just touch it in your mind, and then just come back to the sense of the body breathing, which is kind of a miracle of being human, that we're breathing, we're alive in this space right now. It is said that attuning to the body breathing has a naturally relaxing effect for us. Our sits bones are designed for us to sit on. And you can open your eyes if you wish, to sort of gaze resting downward. Not trying to push anything away or hide out. or get anywhere. We're just being with our living presence right now that is continually changing, as Margaret said. Hallelujah. But also scary in a way. But we can do it, we can stay with it. I'd like to transition into a practice that we do in Karuna training called the 4-step practice. Just go straight from our meditation and then we can chat a little. So I invite you to close your eyes and notice what's up for you right now. Maybe there's something weighing on your heart, a little stuck, a concern. Could be part of what we've been talking about or something else, but regardless, could even be something far away, but on the level of the news, but it has to be touching your heart personally. So I invite you to just really find that and find it. Where is it in your body right now? Is it the sensation of it? Does it have a color or a texture or a sound? And I invite you just to really explore it fully, just to sort of enter it. And as we're doing this, at any time, you can, if it's too much or you don't want to do this, that's fine. You can just come back to meditation or whatever, but come along as you wish. So just explore it. Might be something that we don't usually want to explore, but here's a chance to do it. Just to really feel into it, the phenomena of it. And then I just to invite you to bring it as close as you'd like to bring it to you. This emotion, this whatever, could even be numbing or spacing out or irritation or speed or whatever this thing is. Bring it as close to you as you wish. At any time that we're the screaming baby, the freaked out part of us, we're also the part of us that knows exactly what to do, how to take care, how to extend love. It comes naturally to us. So bring it closer with a sense of softening and warmth and invite it into this extension of care, but even rock with it a little. The quality of warmth, melting. This is another kind of compassionate exchange on the personal level, extending feeling, the true freak out, and the natural compassion extension to ourselves, letting them come together.